Jay Hamilton here at the ALEC annual meeting in Austin, Texas, 2019, and with two wonderful guests that are on opposite sides of a very interesting issue. Trent England is in Oklahoma with the well, go ahead and give you the OCPA.
So the Oklahoma Council of Public Affairs and our Save Our States project, which is about defending the Electoral College.
And over here is Ray Haynes, who served both in the House and the Senate state legislatures in California. And now, Ray, you're doing some consulting, and you're on the other side of this issue.
Right. I actually think the National Popular Vote Interstate Compact, which, by the way, doesn't get rid of the Electoral College. I want to start out there. Trent always says that it does, and it does not. But what it is it's an exercise in federalism where the states make the determination as to whether or not their winner-take-all law is in the best interest of the state or some other form, and in this case, the National Popular Vote Interstate Compact, which makes every single vote in every single state important in every single election, whether that's better for the state and the state legislature acts to make that determination.
We're talking about, obviously, the presidential race.
Correct.
That's right.
And so if California, more people vote one way or the other, that whole electoral college, the delegates will go over to that candidate. Is that what you're saying?
What it does is
divide the delegates?
Well, no. What it does is it awards to any state that is a member of the Interstate Compact. That member state awards its electors to the person who gets the most votes in all 50 states, not just in the state that took the vote.
This is one of the problems with NPV, is that it sounds really simple to say, oh, it just makes all voters equal, which of course is not really how it works. I mean, voters get treated differently even when all the ballots get thrown in the same box, right? Even when you have a statewide race for governor or something, they still hire consultants and pollsters and treat voters differently. So that's really selling false promises. But as soon as you scratch the surface, it's really complicated because they're trying to use the Electoral College to do something that it wasn't designed to do. And to say, hey, we can keep running elections at the state level, but we're going to create this system where the ballots are really being thrown all in one national ballot box and all being counted together, but under different rules in different states. It is a disaster that would lead us into national chaos, but it does. I mean, I'll give Ray this. It sounds really simple until you look at the details.
Well, since it's 888 words for the chaos that Trent says would occur, it's real simple. Go read the compact. It's 888 words. It's easy. You can read it before you have to vote on it. Real simple to understand, and the only thing it does is, because the way the current system works is in every election, each party in each state, well, and I'll use Democrat and Republican because they're the biggest, the Democrats put up their slate of electors, the Republicans put up their slate of electors, and whichever party wins that state, that's the slate of electors that goes to the Capitol on election day, the real presidential election day, third Monday in December, and casts their vote. All this says is the slate of electors committed to the candidate that wins the most votes in all 50 states. That's the slate of electors that goes to the Capitol on election day and casts their votes for president. That's everything else that Trent just said is absolutely irrelevant, because if it's a problem under our system, it's a problem under the current system, because actually, we don't change any part of the current system.
It's a big state, small state problem,
That's just not true, though. I mean, what's funny about the National Popular Vote Interstate Compact, it is really short, and I do encourage people to read it. It's not very long. It doesn't mention recounts, contested elections, any kind of the concerns that would be created by all of a sudden saying that a vote in California is going to be thrown in the same ballot box as a vote in Oklahoma, even though California has different rules. California has
This is to throw the mud against the wall and see what sticks argument, because recounts are a matter of state law. We don't change that. Who's eligible to vote?
That's a failure of the compact.
No, it's actually the strength of the compact. That's actually the strength of the compact.
You can't.
We don't change state law. We don't change anything except how the electors are selected.
Well, so how would this work under NPV if you have an election where no state is close enough to trigger a recount, but the national vote is close enough to trigger a recount?
What do you think would be the national vote being close enough to trigger a recount?
Well, if say the national vote is within 1/4%, which in many states would trigger a recount automatically, you would either have states...
Number of votes. I mean, 1/4%, there are 132 million people that cast a vote in the last election.
So as close as the elections of the 19th century, toward the end of the 19th century, or 1960?
No, 1960. 113,000 votes was the difference. That's the closest election in the last 150 years.
Well, this is another disagreement because Ray doesn't believe that there's any election fraud, that he doesn't believe that Los Angeles County or Cook County do anything crooked in those places. I used to work on election security, so I have more concerns about that.
I want to get back to
all right.
Let's say the national popular vote was in place for Bush versus Gore. You had obviously Gore winning the popular vote, particularly in carrying all the cities, but it didn't sort of equate to the Electoral College vote. How would this change that? Would Gore be president now if we had a national?
We don't know. The truth is we don't know, because the reason Gore wins the popular vote is he won California by 1.5 million votes, and Bush won Florida by 527 votes. Now, I was a Bush supporter. I was one of the first 25 elected officials in February of 1999 to endorse George W. Bush, so I was actively involved in that campaign. Bush looked me in the face and promised me he was going to campaign in California. Personally, Governor Bush looked me and said, I'm campaigning in California in 2000. In September of 2000, they completely pulled out of California, put every dime they had into Florida. Right strategic decision, but then California collapses, the support for Bush collapses, but it didn't make a difference because everybody knew California was going to vote for the Democrat, so why campaign in California? If Bush had spent the time, effort, and money, he'd have picked up another million votes out of California.
He could have had the popular vote as
well. He would have. I can almost guarantee you he would have won the popular vote. But you can't. It's comparing apples and oranges.
Make a Trent in
sure.
Go ahead,
Yeah,
Trent.
I mean, the funny thing about those predictions is that, I mean, of course, the Gore campaign would have been different. The Bush campaign would have been different, of course. So, the idea that, well, Bush would have won more votes in California, well, Gore would have campaigned more in Texas, maybe won more votes there, except that the whole reason for national popular vote, this interstate compact, is that John Koza, a very, very wealthy Californian, was an Al Gore supporter in 2000. He was a big donor. He was actually a presidential elector.
I was going to say he was an Al Gore presidential elector.
Yeah. So I mean, he's a very smart, very liberal man. And he launched this effort after that election because he believes that what Ray's doing would help Democrats win elections. I mean, it is intuitively true, right, that a national popular vote system makes it easier for the more urban party because urban political organizing is just easier, right? The people are closer together. The people tend to be wealthier.
Let me go to just final arguments on both sides. Yeah. Sum it up. Why no to national popular vote?
Sure. The Electoral College does two really important things. One, it keeps states in control of election policy. This is why most Republicans and even some Democrats oppose national popular vote and support the Electoral College, because even though national popular vote does not give power to Washington, D.C., it creates a situation where you would have to centralize control over elections. You'd have no choice. The Electoral College also creates this incentive for campaigns to be somewhat more national than they would otherwise be, because you can't just win by driving up the vote where you're already popular. You actually have to go out to places that are a little bit evenly balanced and build up a broader coalition. I think it's a good thing.
Ray, your point?
Real simple. Current system doesn't build up broader, I mean, we have experience under the current system, and it's my opinion, Trent disagrees, but it's my opinion, what has caused the fracture of the American system is the fact that presidential candidates really only campaign in 10 states. I think it would have been good in 2000 for Gore to go in and campaign in Texas, and for Bush to come into California and ask California Republicans for their vote. The importance of making every single vote in every single state important in every single election, utilizing the language of the Constitution, which says each state shall appoint in such manner as the legislature thereof may direct, is the right way to make changes to the Electoral College, and that's exactly what we're doing.
Let me leave it there. I hope people do find out more about the national popular vote. I want to thank Ray Haynes and Trent England for being with us, and that's it from now from the ALEC annual meeting here in Austin, Texas.